I believe I have found one of the most interesting fragrances yet. And that, specifically, is called Cherry Punk Eau de Parfum from a brand called Room 1015. So, this, I've only tried it once before, and it immediately made an impression in my mind because I'd never smelled anything like it. Usually when I try a fragrance, something else comes to mind. Oh, I've smelled something like this before. Not this. This is something unique. And it kind of, I wonder what inspired this company to make it, because it's, well, I will describe it to you with its unique notes. First of all, this is a relatively new fragrance. It came out in 2020, so it's only a few years old. It's also a unisex fragrance, which is pretty self-explanatory considering the notes. This is a cherry fragrance, if you couldn't tell from the Cherry Punk lettering, its title. So, the thing about this is that it's not your typical cherry fragrance. Usually when you think of cherry, you think of something sweet, feminine, like a dessert or a candy. This is sort of like that, but then it completely changes. So, I'll put some on, and then I'll go over the notes. So when you first put it on, it's this crazy burst of cherry, as if you've just stuck your nose, you've opened one of those bags of cherry gummy candies, or hard candies, and it's just this super sweet burst of cherry. But it doesn't stay like that for long. It kind of surprises you how sweet it is. The top notes, of course, have cherry, followed by saffron and Sichuan pepper. And the thing is, the top notes, it's kind of like a wave. It just runs you over, and then it's gone. Because then, it really descends straight into the middle notes and the base notes, pretty much within the first 10 seconds. The middle notes are mimosa, violet, and jasmine. I would say the floral notes are very, very faint. They don't really contribute much. They're not very substantial or noticeable. However, the base notes are precisely what you notice after that 10-second mark, 20-second mark maybe. Minimal notes, leather, tonka bean, and patchouli. Here's the thing. That leather note is so strong, and so, to me actually, I'm surprised that there's not incense notes or wood notes or smoke notes, because to me it smells just like a crackling campfire, a bonfire. If you've ever had the opportunity to put together a really nice fire outside with some dried wood logs, and it just crackles, and you got the embers at the bottom, and that smoke, that is exactly what this smells like, to me at least, rather than the leather note, because the leather is definitely there. It's definitely like a nice worn kind of leather glove sort of thing, but I guess it could be my perception, but it definitely smells like a bonfire to me, like a nice fireplace sort of thing. So the base notes are delicious in my opinion, because here's the interesting thing. While it has this delicious sweet kind of chewy cherry opening, and then it immediately goes down into the leather notes, it still retains the cherry notes. So it's mostly a very rustic, leathery, smoky sort of thing, but you still get that faint kind of distant, very lightly sweet sort of cherry. And I think that's really, really good, because when I first tried the fragrance and I got that really sweet burst of cherry, I was like, I'm not really a big fan of, super sweet, fruity fragrances. But then it changed into this bonfire leather thing. I was like, alright, hold on a second, this might be something good. And it's definitely probably one of the most unique fragrances I've come across so far. And it's unexpected, because the opening is so different from how it becomes later on. Yeah, it's very, very rustic once it gets a chance to settle down. The tonka bean is also very prominent. The patchouli is kind of distant. It's there, but it's not playing too much of a part. And the pepper, actually, the Sichuan pepper in the top notes, definitely adds a little bit. It's as if you've got you just cracked some pepper over your dinner, over the bonfire that appeared in front of you. This is definitely, I would say, an evening fragrance. It's definitely more heavy, sort of smoky, leathery sort of thing. Especially good for the winter. It has that cozy sort of vibe. Good for the autumn as well. I would say for the warmer months, avoid it because it would probably be too heavy, just too much. You don't want to smell like a bonfire in the summer, in my opinion. And it's what I like about it as well, because the leather notes and the pepper and the tonka bean are so strong. Despite that, the overall fragrance isn't extremely overwhelming. I would say the projection is moderate. It's not going to fill the room, but it has a nice kind of, the people next to you can tell what you're wearing. And the longevity, I would also say, is somewhat moderate. Probably 6 to 7 hours. Because of that, usually I would complain, oh, it doesn't perform as well as it should, but because the notes in this are so intense and so leathery, so smoky, I think it's actually pretty well balanced, because I think if it was any stronger, it would give someone a headache. So for what it is, considering that really heavy leather note especially, I think it's really well balanced, and it's a very enjoyable fragrance, especially if you really enjoy smoky, leathery, peppery such fragrances. Cherry Punk is definitely a very good contender, and it's definitely a very unique, because when I think of leathery or smoky or spicy, I think of Shalimar, which is very incensey and kind of resinous, or something along those lines. But this is more a dry, woodsy, even though there's no wood notes, woodsy kind of smoke or leather. So definitely a more unique approach to this genre, especially with that cherry note. A more unique approach to the genre of heavier fragrances. So definitely something to check out. It's a very surprising, interesting fragrance. And I really just love the dry down, and it kind of stays in its leathery, smoky state for the rest of the day, which is very, very pleasant. Anyway, that's what I have to say about Cherry Punk from room 1015. If you have any opinions about this fragrance, you can leave those down in the comments below. If you liked the video, leave a like, maybe subscribe. You could also donate to my Ko-fi, link down in the description, to support the channel. And I make videos throughout the week, so stick around for that.